She almost didn't see me. It was one of those biting Manhattan evenings when the wind tunnels between skyscrapers and slaps your face awake. I was storming down Fifth Avenue in my camel wool coat, phone glued to my ear, tearing into a client who'd ghosted me for the third time that week. Heels clicking like gunfire, hair fighting its low bun, breath fogging in angry little clouds. That's when she slammed into me full force. Hot coffee exploded across my chest, soaking through silk and skin. Her paper cup crumpled against my ribs. Mine hit the pavement and rolled under a taxi. I smelled caramel and scorched wool and looked down into the widest, most mortified hazel eyes I'd ever seen. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she started, voice trembling. Blonde strands escaped her messy bun and danced across wind-burned cheeks. She wore a soft black cashmere sweater, now, wearing a Rorschach test of latte. One hand clutched a leather-bound sketchbook like a shield, the other flailed with napkins, dabbing uselessly at my coat. "I'm a walking disaster," she laughed, half hysterical. "Please let me buy you a new everything." I should have snarled and kept walking. I had a pitch in 38 minutes that could make or break my quarter. Instead, I heard myself say, "Only if I get to ruin your sweater too." Fair trade. Her name was Harper Quinn. Children's book illustrator from Williamsburg, late for a publisher who'd already rejected her Anxious Box manuscript twice. I was Riley Harper. Yes, our last names matched, and yes, we laughed about fate being cheesy later. Senior art director at the kind of agency that chews up dreamers and spits out billboards. We ducked into a narrow cafe on 57th, steam fogging the windows, coats dripping like we'd been caught in rain. She talked with her hands, paint under her fingernails even though she swore she'd scrubbed that morning. I noticed everything. The tiny crescent scar above her left eyebrow, the way she bit her lower lip when nervous, how she doodled tiny foxes on napkins while describing stories about little creatures too scared to leave their dens. I told her things I never told anyone. How I grew up in a small Ohio town where gay was whispered like a curse. How I came to New York to prove I could be ruthless and successful and still soft where it mattered. How sometimes I stood on my balcony at 3 a.m. wondering if anyone would notice if I disappeared into the skyline. She listened like I was the only sound in the entire city. We missed our meetings. Phones buzzed themselves to death in our bags. When we stepped back outside, Manhattan had flipped its switch, towers glowing gold, traffic lights bleeding red across wet pavement. She shivered violently. Without thinking, I shrugged off my ruined coat and draped it over her shoulders. "You'll freeze," she protested. "I run hot when I'm nervous," I admitted. She looked at me like she was trying to memorize me. We walked nowhere in particular. Past tourists, past pretzel steam, past a saxophonist playing, at last, like he knew. Our hands brushed, once, twice, then tangled and stayed tangled. Neither of us mentioned it. We ended up on the Brooklyn Bridge as the sun bled out behind New Jersey, painting the East River rose gold. Wind whipped her hair across my face. I caught a strand between my fingers like silk. She turned to tuck it away and froze, inches apart. I could see flecks of gold in her hazel eyes, could feel her breath trembling against my lips. "I don't do this," she whispered. "Fall for strangers who destroy my favorite sweater." "I don't let strangers destroy mine either," I whispered back. She laughed once, watery and wondering, then went very still. I saw fear flicker. The same fear I'd carried for years, the one that said desire this big would burn the whole city down. I kissed her before the fear could win. It wasn't soft or cinematic slow. It was hungry, desperate, all the almosts and what-ifs of our separate lives colliding in the middle of a pedestrian walkway while taxis honked 30 stories below. Her sketchbook slipped. Pages fluttered open like white birds. She tasted like caramel latte and cold air, and every risk I'd never taken. Her hands fisted in my damp shirt like she was afraid I'd vanish. When we broke apart, foreheads pressed together, she was crying. "Too much?" I asked, voice rough. "Too perfect," she answered. "I'm terrified it's a dream." "Then let's stay asleep together." The months after were messy and luminous. She missed the F train because she couldn't stop kissing me goodbye on the Atlantic platform. I started carrying 2 Metro cards because she always forgot hers. We fought over whose turn it was to buy oat milk and whether the radiator or the cat was louder at 4 a.m. Her conservative parents stopped speaking to her after our first couple photo hit Instagram. I held her on my tiny West Village couch while she sobbed into my neck until the tears ran out and only my heartbeat was left. She finally sold the Anxious Fox book, the little creature who learns to cross big, scary bridges. I quit the soul-sucking agency and started my own studio in a sun-drenched loft in NoHo. We moved into a shoebox apartment with crooked floors, a clawfoot tub, and a fire escape where we drank coffee and watched the city wake up in watercolor light. Some nights the city felt too loud, memories too sharp. She'd crawl into my lap, press her ear over my heart, and whisper, "Tell me the coffee story again." I'd recount every detail until she smiled against my skin. One winter evening, almost a year to the day, she dragged me back to the exact spot on the bridge. Snow started falling, soft and silent, dusting her blonde hair like powdered sugar. She pulled the original black sweater from her tote, the coffee stain now faded to a ghost. "I kept it," she said, eyes shining, "because it's proof we're real." Then she got down on one knee, right there in the snow, traffic roaring below, city glittering around us like a million promises. "Riley Harper," she said, voice steady even though her hands shook, "will you keep spilling coffee with me for the rest of our lives?" I didn't answer with words. I tackled her into the snow instead, kissing her until we were both laughing and crying and soaked. Somewhere a tourist cheered. Somewhere a taxi driver honked in celebration. We got married the following spring on the rooftop of our building, fairy lights strung like the ones she later hung above our daughter's crib years from now. She wore a simple cream dress. I wore the camel coat, freshly cleaned but still carrying the faintest trace of that original stain. We wrote our own vows about bridges and bravery and choosing each other every single day. The black sweater with the permanent coffee stain still hangs in our closet. She refuses to throw it away. Says it's our origin stain, our relic, our love letter written in latte and city wind. Every anniversary we go back to the exact spot on the bridge. Same wind, same lights, same kiss, only softer now, practiced certain. Tourists still film us sometimes. We don't care. Because some love stories don't begin with flowers or candlelight. They begin with scalding coffee on a freezing Manhattan sidewalk, 2 women running late to everywhere except straight into each other's arms. And once they collide, the city, for all its noise and steel and hurry, finally shuts up and listens. Forever.